Now you can see here I've logged into BTCHub via my default browser, which is Chrome. This will work on Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, whichever browser that you use. And it being a web browser-based solution, that does mean it's a cloud product. So it's a software as a service product. So we're logging in here using our web browser, which means there's no downloads required. The only download that we'll be looking at is the MTD Excel add-in, which we'll look at. And all of your data is stored securely in 2 UK-based Amazon data centers, and you can access the software from anywhere. And you're not having to worry about backups of your data either. So once I've logged into BTCHub, which I'm going to do now, I'll give you a walkthrough of the solution in terms of what we're looking at. And we'll open up the hub. So we've got my user featured on the right-hand side. Now, a subscription of BTCHub will enable you to have up to 5 users of the software. We've got a notification bell, and then importantly, we've got a help menu, which is going to offer you a quick start guide in order to get up and running with the software. As well as the quick start guides, we will offer telephone and email support, and Tim will explain how that works later on in the presentation. We've got our main menu featured on the left-hand side, and I'll go through each of these different options now. So the first option that we've got there is our home menu, which is going to feature a dashboard view of the recent VAT returns that we've added into the hub, and then also recent clients as well. So for those of you who will be filing returns for multiple VAT registration numbers, you'll have a list of your organizations here. For those of you who are just filing under the one VAT registration number, you're just going to have your organization as opposed to a list of clients here. And as I said, you'll have a list of your organizations if you have multiple organizations, or if you just have the one, you'll have your one organization that will show under the organizations tab there. We've got the VAT dashboard where we can search for the multiple organizations and populate that 9-box VAT return. And we've also got a VAT report, which will show you your most recent VAT return in terms of the period, where the status of that return is, and if it's overdue, it will appear so in red. Now, importantly for some of you, we've got the MTD Excel add-in, which is where we can download the add-in to move our data from a spreadsheet into BTCHub. And for those of you who are keeping records manually and don't have any digital build-up of your VAT detail, you can download the MTD Excel template. So we've produced a template that will allow you to record your purchases and your sales and your inputs into this specific template, which will then populate a 9-box VAT return for you. So we'll have all the digital links in there, and then you can import that directly into BTCHub. Now, we would recommend that template for those who don't currently use spreadsheets. For those of you that do use spreadsheets, we would recommend you continue using the spreadsheets that you're familiar with, and then import directly from your spreadsheets that you've always used thus far. Now, the first option that we are going to look at is a spreadsheet. So I'm going to move from BTCHub into my example spreadsheet. Now, you may have a spreadsheet that looks similar to this, and you've got your sales and outputs for the business and purchases and inputs. So you've got a couple of tabs here that's recording the VAT return detail of how you've built up each of those different transactions. And then you may or may not have a VAT return summary, which lists the detail and importantly, it lists those final nine VAT totals that we can see there. Now, in each of these boxes with the figures, you can see there within my formula bar, I've linked that particular box within my VAT return summary as to where that cell is appearing within my calculation. So the figures that we're bringing from the spreadsheet into BTCHub are your final calculations, your final figures. HMRC put it nicely, and you don't want to use your keyboard to manually key the figures directly into a VAT return summary. You need that digital audit trail of how you've built up those final 9 VAT figures. So you need that link throughout your spreadsheet or your bookkeeping software as to how you've derived those final figures that you're bringing from the spreadsheet or software into BTCHub. Now, once you've got to this stage and you've built up the VAT return detail, you can download the MTD Excel add-in. So you can see I've installed my add-in in the top left-hand corner of the screen there, which is a BTC MTD solution. And the first option that we've got there is to define the VAT range. Now you can see I've already predefined the VAT range here, and all I've done is I've selected each of the boxes and I've held control and selected each of the boxes that contains the information that I'm looking to bring from the spreadsheet into BTCHub. Now you can pick up these boxes from anywhere. If you have multiple spreadsheets, you can pick these boxes up from multiple spreadsheets as well. And once you've done that and you've selected the boxes, you can tick the Show VAT Range option so you can see the VAT return detail nice and clearly in terms of what information that you're looking to bring across. And when you're ready, you can export the MTD VAT data using the button there. Now, there are two ways that we can bring the figures from the spreadsheet into BTCHub. The first option that you can use is you can save this particular spreadsheet as a CSV file, and you can import the CSV file into BTCHub. But our most recommended option is to export the MTD VAT data via this button here, which will send all of this VAT return detail directly into a 9-box VAT return via the API that we've built within that add-in. Now, to show you this, I'm going to come back into BTCHub and completely log out. And I'm going to close this down here and go back to my spreadsheet. Now, as I said, I've already predefined the VAT range here, so I don't have to worry about that. And when I'm ready, I can export the MTD VAT data. Now, as you can see there, that's going to open up BTCHub automatically using my default browser. I can log in and it's going to populate my 9-box VAT return. Now, we cannot manually key the figures directly in here, and once they've been imported, we cannot manually change them. Whichever source that you're using, you need to go back to that original source and then re-import over the top of this. Now, this being a sandbox environment, an HMRC sandbox environment, this version of the software is a demo version, so I only have 2 obligations here to represent 2 quarters. However, you would have 4 obligations to represent 4 quarters, or if you file monthly returns, you would have 12 obligations there. Now you can see my first obligation there has been fulfilled, and the second obligation is the one that we're currently working on, and it will also show liabilities and payments from the prior year as well. Now, once we've imported our data in here from our spreadsheet, we can save the VAT return detail, and when we're ready, we can choose the edit option, choose submit, confirm that we've read the above legal declaration and have the authorities to submit that information. And then that red box, now that we can see that open obligation, will now turn to a green box as we submit it. And we can view the submission receipt to show our receipt, our correlation ID, and then the exact date and time to the second that that particular VAT return was sent directly to HMRC through our API. So that's the first way that we can bring our figures into BTCHub. Next, we're going to look at bringing a set of or a VAT return from VT. So for those of you who use VT, there'll be an option for you in that you can bring your VAT return into BTCHub. So we'll look at that now. So I'm going to just create a new client here, pressing the Create Client option. And once I've created that client, we'll get the green tick box to say that we can select that client to view the VAT return detail. Now we're logging into HMRC here. I'm going to be logging in using test credentials. However, what you'll need to do as a business is you'll need to sign yourselves up to MTD. So you'll need to sign yourselves up to the pilot. You can do that currently. That is live on the gov.uk website. And we do have a link that we can send you in order to get you signed up as a business to MTD. So you'll need to do that prior to using BTCHub. Now you'll be logging in using your credentials, and we're going to grant authority here to view the VAT return information and obviously submit directly to HMRC. And we're going to get to that 2 obligation, and if we click the second obligation there, we'll get to our VAT return. Now, to import from VT, I'm going to move out into VT now. So those of you who use BTCSoftware, you'll recognize the homepage here. And if I go to the display menu and go to VAT returns, I can select my VAT return from the left-hand side. Choose the new button within VT, which says MTD Export. And we'll get a nice message there to say that the VAT return totals have been copied to the clipboard so that we can move them into BTCHub. So we can choose OK. Go back into BTCHub. Choose the import option. Select VT from the drop-down. And then paste our data into here. Now, once we've got a green box up at the top there to say that the data is valid, we can choose the OK option, and that will populate my 9-box VAT return. Now, the final method that we're going to look at now is how to bring a CSV file into this 9-box VAT return. So for those businesses who use finance solutions, maybe use ERP solutions, or those who use software that's maybe not going to be MTD compliant, that you don't want to upgrade to the latest version. The example that I'll be showing you now is a CSV file that's been pulled directly out of Sage Line 50. So to import a CSV file into here, we can choose the import option, select CSV, select our file, and you can see there I've saved my file as a CSV file, comma separated value file. And if I open that up, again, we're going to get a nice green box to say the data is valid, and it will just overwrite the information that we've currently brought in from VT with the information that's held within that CSV file. So if I select OK, you can see it's just going to populate my VAT return. So it's as simple as that. Same as we did before, we can save it, and when we're ready, we can submit, confirm we have the authority, and that's our VAT return submitted directly to HMRC.